Welcome back, Guardians. Today's video is going to be on Verity's Brow with Void. We've done a Verity's Brow for Solar, we've done a Verity's Brow for Arc, and I still love both of those builds. They're both kicking very strong, but this one is purely on Void, and it doesn't really rely too much on the artifact, but it does help it in this build. So, Graviton Lance is one of my favorite weapons in the game. As you can see in the background clip, I am a Graviton Lance enjoyer, but it's currently bugged. So I needed to come up with a build that doesn't focus directly on Graviton Lance, although it still functions quite well in the build currently. It's just slow with its current fire rate. It's reverted back to its old slower version at the moment, but we still have something very strong in Monarque. So let's begin talking about Monarque and what it can do for this build. Then we'll break down what Verity's Brow can do in the build, and then we'll start talking about the subclass setup, aspects, fragments, and then armor mods in that order. Let's dive in. So Monarque may not have as much going for it as Graviton Lance does. Graviton Lance has incredible range. Well, Monarque has just as good of range as it is a bow. The exotic trait of poison arrows, where arrows fired quickly after a full draw become poison arrows, and precision hits with the poison arrow will stun the combatant and most importantly spread poison to nearby ones, is a little bit weaker compared to Graviton Lance's get a kill and have chain explosions that can cycle and repeat almost indefinitely. With poison arrow, it is nice to be able to spread some poison around so you can get an AoE effect, which is going to help in this build. So just think of it as a budget Graviton Lance until Graviton Lance is fixed. But in the meantime, let's now move on to talking about Verity's Brow, what it can do in this build. Verity's Brow has the exotic trait of Death Throes. So let's break down what Death Throes does. The fourth magic is the exotic trait. Weapon final blows with a damage type that match your grenade element grant a stack of Death Throes for 11 seconds with a maximum stack of 5. Death Throes grants 50% additional base grenade recharge rate and 20% increased grenade per stack. On the grenade ability usage with active Death Throw stacks for 5 seconds, allies are going to receive Feel the Flames while they're within 20 meters of you. That Feel the Flames buff is going to grant your allies 10 times grenade recharge rate. So this is very good in solo play, especially with a perk like Devour, but this is also going to be really great in team play based situations as well. Now onto the Void subclass here, we're going to be using Nova Bomb Cataclysm. Nova Bomb did receive a damage boost with the release of the final shape. I believe it was 20% more damage. Don't quote me on that, I'll have to look up the patch notes. Healing Rift is my rift of choice for the class ability. Strafe Glide is my preference, and then Pocket Singularity, as you have no other options there. As for the grenade, we are using the Scatter Grenade because it has the most direct burst damage of the grenades on Void. And then for aspects, we're going to be running Feed the Void, defeating a target with a Void ability to activate Devour. Your Devour effects are improved, restoring additional health and grenade energy. So any subclass on Void is able to get access to Devour. Prismatic Warlock has access to this aspect, but Titans and Hunters don't have the traditional full amount of Feed the Void. They don't get full health and they don't get as much grenade energy as Warlocks do. Now, if you wanted to use this on Prismatic, you sure as well could, but there are other reasons on Void 3.0 that I prefer to run the pure Void setup, and that is for Child of the Old Gods and this season's artifact mod, Expanding Abyss. So when you pair those two together, your weaken goes from a 15% weaken to a 25% weaken. So that Child of the Old Gods is going to put in so much work because you're going to be able to have that 25% damage boost to all of your Void weapons in your loadout. As for the fragments, another one that is going to get boosted by that Expanding Abyss artifact mod is going to be Echo of Undermining. Your Void grenades weaken targets, which is normally a 15% weaken, which is also going to go up to a 25%. Pair that in with Verity's Brow's huge amounts of damage boost that you're going to have, and it's going to work together and pair together very well. Now, the second fragment is Echo of Persistence. All void buffs applied to you, Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour, will have an increased duration. They'll be 50% longer. This is just to give us extra wiggle room to keep our Devour timer up when we have to deal with a high health target. The third fragment is going to be Echo of Harvest. Defeating weakened targets will create an Orb of Power, as well as a Void Breach. The Void Breach is going to give you class ability energy. This will help you return your Healing Rift, your class ability, much faster, while also having Devour from that orb that you pick up by having our fourth fragment equipped, Echo of Starvation. When we pick up either the Void Breach or that Orb of Power, it will refresh our Devour for us. So we have a loop here, and with our grenade weakening a target, we have the ability to make solid amount of orbs in almost all content, GM, Master Dungeon, Master Raid, whatever it may be. We've got a lot of survivability with this subclass, and the artifact mods are really helping boost up the damage that we're able to dish out with our Void weapons. And we also get a little bit of a Void Overshield with the Void Hegemony perk on the artifact. For the armor stat preferences in this build, always max out Resilience, put your Resilience at 100% for that 30% damage reduction in PvE. Discipline is not really as important because of the benefits of Death Throes and Devour, so if you can get your recovery to somewhere around 60 or 70, that would be preferred over maxing out Discipline. You'll probably get more out of recovery because you'll be able to cast your Rift more often than you will out of Discipline because of the diminishing returns. Now, onto the armor. Starting here with the helmet, we have one copy of Harmonic Siphon, one copy of Dynamo to reduce our super when we cast our Rift near any targets. And we have Ashes to Assets, another way to double dip onto getting more super energy back by combining both Dynamo and Ashes to Assets. And because we can spam grenades very frequently in this build, this works very well. Onto the gauntlets. On the gauntlets, we have one copy of Firepower. We will make 2 orbs of power because if our grenade kills a target, they are essentially weakened. Therefore, we are making a orb through our fragment, and then we're going to make one through Firepower. Those 2 orbs are going to be enough to max out our grenade kickstart. Then we have one copy of Fastball. That's going to help us throw the scatter grenade a little bit farther. Then onto the chest, we're running one copy of an Elemental Resist and another copy of a Harmonic Resist, so we'll be able to flex this based on what element is the increased threat damage that we'll be taking. One copy of Charged Up to provide us the ability to go up to 4 armor charges. So therefore, when I said we'll make 2 orbs of power through Firepower and 1 fragment, that is how we'll max the grenade kickstart, because on our legs, we're going to have a copy of Stacks on Stacks. Each one of those orbs provides 2 armor charges, therefore giving us 2 orbs equaling out to 4 total armor charges. We also have this flex here in Elemental Charge, where when we pick up a Void Breach, we're going to be able to get a armor charge as well on like every 3rd or 4th Void Breach picked up. We're going to triple dip essentially into grenade energy with Innervation. We've got Death Throes that we've talked about. We've got Devour that we talked about. Then we have Innervation that we've just now talked about, and also Grenade Kickstart. So there's an insane amount of grenade looping and grenade ability energy that we're going to get back here in this build. Last, we're going to go into that one other time with Bomber because we have to cast our class ability. Now you could swap this out if it seems redundant and we're getting way too much grenade energy. You can go with Outreach instead. Reaper, every time we cast our class ability and then get a final weapon blow shortly after, that's another guaranteed orb right there. We have Powerful Attraction to vacuum in those nearby orbs that we may be making with our grenade. We'll be able to get those armor charges without having to go chase them down. As for weapons in the build, I've had a lot of different options here that you can use. Anti-barrier sniper with Monarque for overload, and an explosive light grenade launcher for champions. For unstoppables and barriers, we've got the Call for a sidearm, and then anti-barrier pulse with Graviton Lance, and once again a explosive light for champions. For more of a DPS based loadout, we're going to go with Wither Horde, a legendary pulse or SMG in this slot, and then we have a bait and switch edge transit here. That's more of a DPS focused loadout. This would be more of a ultimate utility build right here. You've got Chill Clip in the kinetic slot to deal with both overloads and unstoppables, and then you'd have a legendary pulse or SMG for anti-barrier, and then for unstoppable you would have Leviathan's Breath here in your heavy weapon slot. So it's a very flexible loadout, and Void has a lot of options there. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. Please continue supporting this channel as it means the world to me. All of your comments, all of your appreciation for the videos goes a really long way in helping me continue to make these videos. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful day. Peace.